Absalom. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? The king says to this woman who's lost everything, if anyone brings charge against thee, bring him to me. Can you imagine? She just lost her husband. She lost one of her sons. She's going to lose one of the other ones of her sons. She's going to lose her last son. She's going to lose her land. She's going to lose her inheritance. She's going to lose everything. And the king steps up and he says, if anyone brings any charge against you, bring him to me. Wow. You know, most of us were blessed with a good dad. A good dad gives the impression that he can fix anything. A good dad gives the impression he can fix anything. I know a child, 7 years old, on his computer, wound up spending $280 on his computer, and his dad came in and lovingly, but disciplinarily, he covered it. You know? A good dad gives the impression he can cover anything. That's the way it is. He tries to cover it. A teenager gets in trouble at school. You come home to your dad. Let's see, I know that teacher. I had that teacher. I know the principal. Monday morning, we're going to the school and we're going to talk to them. Dad always seems to know what to do. A teenager has a car accident and wipes out the car. Dad's brand new best car he's ever had wipes it out. Dad's first statement, are you okay? And then Dad seems to know everything. He knows about the insurance company. He knows about tow trucks. He knows somebody at the garage who can fix the car. The dad is there to repair, to care, to be there with prayer, everything that's needed. A good dad seems to be able to handle absolutely everything. As you go through life, if you've had a good dad, Dad was always there. I need a new suit. I want to go to the dance at the school when I'm in 5th grade. And I've got to look as good as everybody else. And Dad somehow comes up with the money for that new suit. Dad is there. You get your trouble, you get your difficulty, but Dad seems to be able to handle it all. You get in difficulty with the law, your dad says, we're going to go talk to them. Keep your hands visible. Keep your hands on the wheel. Don't say anything. Don't lose your temper. Don't get mad. Don't get torn up. Don't do anything. Dad tells you how to act with the law to get you through the situation. I've seen a woman facing retirement pull $60,000 out of her retirement account to save one of her kids from illegal trouble. It's not unusual. And here's David, being just like that man. Whoever charges thee, bring him unto me. That's David to this woman in the text. That's the kind of dad we want to be. And if we don't have that kind of dad, we learn from the Bible how to be that kind of dad from God. And Joab perceived the king's heart pertained to Absalom. Now imagine this Absalom. He killed his brother. He put the king through trauma because all the brothers were there. They all scattered. The king got the word. He killed them all. And for that hour, for that time period, the king was thinking all his sons were dead, killed by Absalom. This was Absalom. And yet Joab perceived that the king's heart still was for Absalom. And he went to Tekoa. Now, Tekoa is a town that gets its name from tent pegs. Because the tent pegs pull the tent, and if you want the tent tighter, you pull them out, you stretch them, and you dig them in the ground even deeper. Tekoa means that we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to straighten it out. We're going to make it good, and we're going to make it strong. And here we are in this king's palace, and there's political intrigue, and there's family intrigue, and there's palace intrigue, and there's all this going on, and Joab is in the middle of it, trying to figure out how he can make something for himself out of it. So he goes to Tekoa, and he goes to a woman, and he says, I want you to act like you're a mourner. I want you to act like you have lost everything. I want you to act like you're really, really down and out. I want you to tear your clothes. I want you to wear old clothes. I want you to put dirt on your head. I want you to absolutely look like you're miserable. I want you not to eat for a couple days on the way to David's palace. I want you to look really down and out when you get there. I want to look like someone who's really mourning. I want you to be like somebody who's really mourning, because I want the king to believe you. And I will tell you, when it comes to traditions of death, Jewish people really understand the tradition of death, and it really goes deep. That's why, and many people in many countries could not understand it, why the Jewish people and Israel would literally stop a war for 20 people who were held hostage. They would literally stop a war in order to get back their hostages, and they would literally stop a war to get back the bodies of their dead, because the traditions of death are that important to Jewish people. And so he says, I want you to go to David, and I want you to look like somebody who's just lost somebody. And I want you to tell him this story that I'm going to tell you. I want you to memorize what I'm telling you, because I think it's very important that you tell him. And so Joab tells her this. And she goes to the king and she throws herself at his feet. She just bows in obedience to him. She lays down right in front of him. Now I want you to realize this is all fake. I want you to realize she's an actor. I want you to realize she's trying to pull a con job on the king. But she takes and throws herself down. What great honor she appears to offer to the king. And she's trying to con him. She's trying to fool it. And so the woman says, I am indeed a widow woman. Now you have to understand the social security of that day and age. Women literally, generally had nothing. Everything was owned by men, and men then took care of and distributed the women. And she says, I had 2 sons. And they were out in the field and nobody was around. And one of the sons got in a fight with the other son. He picked up a stone, he hit him on the head, and he killed him. And when he killed him, then my relatives, the rest of the people in the clan, came after me, and they said, let's us do the blood feud thing. Let's us kill this remaining son. Then there will be no heir to own the land. Then let us take over the land. And here's this woman laying on the ground, looking up at the king, saying, if that happens, I will have nothing. I will be cast out. I will be living on the side of the road. I will be homeless somewhere beside Los Angeles, where it's the way to live. she took and she just prostrated herself in front of the king. And when the king heard this, and heard that they were going to destroy her son, they were going to steal her land, they were going to take, and she would lose her inheritance. She would lose her family, she would lose her line, she would lose absolutely everything. And David says to her, I believe it's verse 8 to 10, and I give thee this charge. I will take care of it. And if any man charges thee, bring him to me. Can you imagine how that woman felt? Her whole world was disappearing, and David says, if you have any trouble with anybody, bring them to me and I'm going to take care of it. If you have any trouble with anybody, I'm going to take care of it. You won't lose your line. You won't lose your inheritance. You won't lose your only son. You won't lose anything. David says, if anybody brings charge against thee, bring it to me. That's what he's talking about there. Bring it to me. And he shall not touch thee anymore. A royal pardon covers it all. A royal pardon covers absolutely everything, even a blood feud. The royal pardon covers it all. And I pray thee that I may speak to thee, to the Lord thy God. Remember not the blood. See, because blood feuds back then were pretty powerful. They were pretty strong. And David is saying that even in times of revenge, there can be mercy, there should be mercy, and there will be mercy. And he says, I will give you mercy, and nobody will be able to have a blood feud against your son or against you. Nobody will be able to do that. And so the handmaid is right where she wants to be. She's right where Joab put her. Because Joab really didn't like David. Joab really liked Absalom. And Joab really wanted to cause trouble for David. That's why he told the woman the story. And the woman says, Lord, may thy handmaid speak. You've said I can speak. Can I go a little deeper into this? Can I take a little deeper look into it? And David says, yes, you do that. And she says, what about not just me, but what about the people of God? What about the people of Israel? They're losing one of their sons. They're losing a leader. They're losing somebody who they thought was going to be able to lead the people. They're losing somebody that they really, really care for. What about the people of God? Are you as concerned with the people of God as you're concerned with me? What about the banished one? And at this point, I think David's mind starts to click into gear. At this point, David realizes that there's more going on than just this woman. There's something underneath, there's an undercurrent going on there. Because when she mentions, what about the banished one? He suddenly realized that the one he's banished is his son Absalom, who killed his brother. And I believe the instant he thought about the banished one who killed his brother, and the banished one who killed his brother for committing adultery with his sister. Do you remember the story?
Yeah.
I don't have to go into it very deep. That's why I like talking about story after story after story. David, when he suddenly perceives what the lady's really talking about, he remembers some other guy that committed adultery with Bathsheba. killed a brother, and he remembers some guy who committed murder against Uriah the Hittite. And suddenly, David is there looking at a story that's talking about himself. And I believe that the whole story, the way it's designed, just skewers him from the inside out, and it opens up his entire life. And I don't think there's anybody in Israel at this time who didn't know all these stories and know everything that happened and know exactly what David had done and know exactly what happened with Absalom. And so the woman then says, this all has taken place too. What about the banished one? What about the one who is banished? And suddenly, David is thinking. And he says, I like the way it says in the King James Version of the Lord, because it says that the angel of the Lord has the mercy that he can even cover blood. And boy, does that talk in a messianic way to us, because we know Yeshua went to the cross and he gave his blood to cover our need. He gave his blood so that we could be delivered from sin that otherwise should have absolutely condemned each and every one of us. And most of us have lived our life with the defense, well, I'm not as bad as him. I haven't done what she did. Lord, you ought to see how her life was. You ought to see the stuff she's been through in college. You ought to see the way, and we look at other people and God says, no, I'm looking at you. And my blood was to cover you. If they had never been there, I still would have died to cover you. I still would have shed my blood to wash you. I still would have shed myself for you. And the angel of the Lord is to cover blood. And suddenly this woman is bringing him forward to take a look at the mercy that God has had. And I believe God had to have this mercy. I preached a sermon once that before God considered the world, God considered the cross. Mm-hmm. I believe when 72 elders were invited on the mountain to see God at Mount Sinai, it says he invited them to eat and he did not raise his hands to them. I think what it really means, not that he didn't get ready to punch him and fight him. What it means is when he blessed them to eat, he didn't raise his hands, because if he had done that, they would have seen nail holes were already in his hands. He made them there so they knew that he was going to die for him. They will not see those nail holes till he comes again and they look on him who they have pierced. And Yeshua, the angel of the Lord, the messenger of God, God in human form coming to us, he came in human form. And David looks at this woman and he says, your life is going to be preserved by the angel of the Lord. Your son is going to be preserved. Your inheritance is going to be preserved. Your line is going to be preserved. The angel of the Lord can cover all of it. The angel of the Lord, Yeshua, does all of that for us. And we really need to hang on to that, because life is getting kind of confusing. Life is getting kind of tough. Life is getting kind of dirty. I mean, there's a lot happening out there that we don't even want to be a part of. We don't want to think about. But God puts us in the middle of it every day so we can witness to him. We can witness to what he's done for us. We can witness to what he is doing for the world even now. God does not want to judge the world. God wants repentance. And that's what God is talking about here. He's bringing David's whole life in front of him. And the woman says, "O David, O king, you said I can speak. May I speak again? The angel of the Lord is there." Yes. And God says to each of us, if anybody brings any charge against you, I'll take care of it. If anybody brings any charge against you, I will cover it. David perceives what's going on. He says to the lady, did Joab put you up to this? She says, yes. She admits Joab did it. I mean, you don't better lie to a king. We don't better lie to that king. We don't better lie to the king. And he says, bring Joab here. Joab throws himself on his face in front of David. David says, go get the young man. And Joab goes to Geshur. Now, Geshur is an interesting town because what the town means, it means a bridge between 2 points.
That's right.
It is a stretching between 2 points. And these are the 2 points Absalom ran to Geshur, and he was stretched because he had his life as a young man when he did his own thing and he killed his brother. Then he was going to become a mature man, and he was going to rebel against and try to kill his father. And so what was happening at Geshur is he was stretched from one point to another point, and David sends Joab and says, go to Geshur, bring him to me. And then he says, do not let him see my face. I don't want to see him around the palace. Keep him out of the big town. Don't let him go to the big city. Stick him in his house out in the sticks. And this is where this story will end, because we'll pick up next week with what Absalom learned when he was at Geshur and how he really felt and what he thought. Just remember, if anybody, including the devil, charges thee, bring him to me. Amen. Arise for the Aaronic benediction, and then we will have a blessing to send us home.